Hey guys, iKailaKai here, and I started a second channel just for my casting highlights because some people don't really want to see the casting highlights along the main channel content. I don't want the main channel content to get cluttered, so this is that channel. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more of this kind of content. Thank you. Let's get into the video. Black Yellow leader, that on the opponent's turn, all of your characters gain +1 cost, and on the opponent's attack, you can trash one card to redirect one of the attacks into one of your Blackbeard Pirate type characters against Blue Yellow Nami. Blue Yellow Nami, just the bane of everyone's existence unless you're playing Black Yellow Teach. When life is removed, you can draw one card if you have 7 cards or less in your hand, and if you have one villain attached to your leader, you can trash one card to make your leader 7,000 power for the entirety of the turn. Thoughts on this matchup?
This is an interesting matchup, I would say. On paper, it's very one-sided, but I have seen on multiple times that triggers and just the luck element in this matchup can generally swing it back towards a 50-50. This one is definitely a roll of the dice, in my opinion.
I don't even think that rolling the dice can save Nami in this matchup. It's going to be very brutal, but if Nami doesn't end up going second, it's going to be even worse. You know, for people asking about shuffling before, you saw that like crazy two-handed hypergeometric shuffling down there. That was an intense amount of movement for shuffling. Making sure that Teach... Whoa, that's an interesting card in Teach's deck. There's the 7-cost Luffy.
Wait, what?
7-cost zombie Luffy we just saw in Teach's starting hand, but he decided to mulligan it.
Interesting. He just mulliganed a full lead, right?
Yeah, it seemed like fine to take. I think I saw full lead. Maybe he's just really hard looking for things like Shiryu, but especially in this matchup, you're not necessarily trying to find a 4-drop because obviously Nami's leader is going to become 7,000 power. So, curious to see what he's looking for, because he got rid of one of those weird tech cards and also the full lead. Nami, on the other hand, does seem to be keeping their starting hand, but also does seem to be going first, as you can tell by this little marker on the table that says that Nami is going to be going first, so going to be quite an uphill battle. Might be dreading it from the look on his face a little bit. Going to try the best that he can. Yeah, I am not a big fan of Zombie Luffy, but it takes so long to get to 20 cards in your trash, even with like every single thing that you can run, at least the standard cards that you can run to jump cards into trash.
I think maybe because he feels so comfortable on this matchup that he felt that he could go for a greedier mulligan. Maybe just a bit concerned about not seeing enough of the 1-drops in his opening hand and just establishing that very early ability to cycle and just generally control the flow of how much damage he's taking.
Yeah, but generally if you have full lead, you can fix that issue, but does not find it in his second starting hand, does in fact have the 4-cost Burgess though, so that is going to be a very nice card. One of the only cards that you do actually look to play on the 4-long turn against Nami. And
Zeus invalidated.
Yeah, the Zeus doesn't get... Sorry, I say Zeus because it's the way that they say it in Japanese, but Zeus will not be able to get rid of that 4-cost Burgess. Does not have the 5-cost Nami, but does have the 7-cost Robin, as well as some other defensive options. Teach, on the other hand, finding the Black Vortex much earlier than you usually would like to, so probably will end up going to the trash pretty early on. I preferred his other starting hand that he decided to mulligan.
Yeah, me too. I noticed that he got the Black Vortex in both starting hands, so I'm very curious how many he's running. Either he got a little bit unlucky to see it early, or maybe he's running multiple, which is really interesting.
That is a fair point. In Japan, it does seem like a lot of people value that card a lot higher. I see some people running the 8-cost Zehahaha at only 1 copy, but running things like Black Vortex at 3, sometimes even 4 copies. I don't know where you find the time to use them, but I have seen that more often than not in Japan, so we'll see what the game plan is here, what those ratios are. So we already are thrown a bit off guard. Oh, never punished. Oh my god, those don't cards.
That is crazy. Just casually flexing several $1,000s onto the table while also finding full lead right off the top. Back some disrespect to the opponent.
Yeah, and now his curve is completely set for the next couple of turns. Does send one 10 cost siege to the bottom, but because you see it in your first search, you're not all too disappointed because that will eventually come back up.
Wow,
Yeah.
this is everything you could have asked for and more.
Yeah, now this is the best starting hand that you could possibly get. Nami, just going for the default play. You don't usually have too much to play on this turn. Oh, he shouldn't draw that card yet. But yeah. Okay, Teach is going to use the trigger to just get the extra draw, just cycling to try to find that early top end. In this match especially, you're just trying to cycle through deck to find all of your 10 cost Teaches and whatnot, so it makes sense to use those. Don't value the 2k as much as you value finding all of your cards, which, looking at his hand, not only does he have his perfect curve up to 8 Dong, he also has 2 Shiryu, which means that he does have a target to place into his life with that Shiryu on play as well, should he choose to.
Absolutely crazy. That's pretty much exactly what you want. Okay, just throwing the full letter across the screen. That Shiryu off the other Shiryu is just crazy. Being able to go +1 in hand in a very tempo focused matchup is just crazy good.
Yeah, and I think I may be mistaken, but I do know this Nami's name. They were a Rebecca player back in OP04. So unless it's someone with the exact same name, this was a Rebecca player from OP04, which I don't remember which championship, but he ended up getting, I believe, second place, losing to Rebecca in the finals with a 10 cost Kazan build. I may be mistaken with a different blue-black Rebecca player, but I know my blue-black Rebecca players very well. Coming back to the live stream after a very long time, but fighting one of his worst matchups.
Yeah, and basically what we're seeing is an unfavorable matchup versus the highest possible roll in existence. I
Yeah.
personally am rooting for Nami in this situation, which is a very rare thing to say. Always root for the underdog. But even if he plays perfectly, even if he high rolls every trigger, he is in for the fight of his life. I'm very curious to see how he's going to navigate this.
Not even getting the 5 cost Nami on this turn, that's one of the ways that you can try to get a little bit of tempo on the board by just making the opponent peel 1 life and forcing them to counter that second attack, lest they go down to 1 life very early on. Does not find the 5 cost Nami, therefore forced to play down the Marco. He's just going to take the free block because he has the chance to right now. And yeah, does go for the Marco though. I believe that's only going to be 6,000 power currently. Does decide to counter it with 1k. Just trying to squeeze out resources from Nami because you don't want to let that body go too early on.
Absolutely. So far, pretty standard play. Choosing not to put the Shiryu in life, instead going for the guaranteed value of being able to draw a card and play out one of your weenies from trash with the Devon. Also, you have everything you need, pretty much. There's no reason to dig deeper. Obviously, you need to see a 10 cost each, hopefully sooner rather than later, but even if you miss it, you have a second 8 cost to play on curve anyway. So you're really chilling.
Yeah, actually, this is a somewhat interesting turn. So basically, your options right now are the 5 cost Nami or the 7 cost Robin. The opponent actually went back to 3 life by playing down that Devon. It's one of the benefits of putting Devon into your life over Shiryu is that if the opponent plays the 5 cost Nami, you're getting back a 2k instead of a counterless card. So if he goes for the 5 cost Nami now, it's definitely going to be a much more aggressive plan from Nami, but I think that one of the big things that's disincentivizing that is that there's a Vasco shot on the board, and I believe one more in the trash. So although generally I would like the Nami play, I think that the 7 cost Robin play is going to end up being what he ends up going for, just due to the fact that there's all these Vasco shots already in play.
And choosing to save the Burgess here, I think, is a very good idea. You generally want to see it live into the late game to get as much value as possible, and while it's rested, it basically turns your leader into a pseudo 6k leader, which I think is smart.
Yeah, does end up going for that Nami play, so is trying to... Yeah. Oh, does immediately use the Vasco shot. I don't know if I would have used it on that attack. I probably would have preferred to just throw that into the dot queue and save the Vasco shot for later. But the Teach already doing a couple of things differently from what I would have done. I also would have put the Shiryu in my life there as well, because it further incentivizes a person to put out Nami when you have so many Vasco shots in play. But seems like he's not caring all too much about these Vasco shots, instead just playing the standard game plan as if the Nami played the 7-cost Robin. But not the case this time, still decides to redirect the Vasco shot, which would in most instances not have that much value in this matchup, but right now does.
And now he's forced to make a difficult decision with this full LED, whether he wants a 2K or he wants to replace the Vasco shot that he just used.
Yeah.
Which he could have been an easy decision and could have been completely avoided if he chose to use the Dock Q instead.
Yeah, no, if he left the Vasco shot on the board, then this entire board from Nami is completely unthreatening. But because that Vasco shot's not there, he can choose to leave up the Marco active, for example, just as a blocker to stem some bleeding. But because that Dakyu's on the board, which isn't going to do really anything in this matchup, because Nami does not run very many 1-costs, or if at all, honestly. Just going to stand there menacingly, as Teach presumably is just going to play down that 8-cost Teach.
Yeah, and the 8-cost Teach on curve here is just incredibly strong. Basically bringing you back to 3 life again, technically enabling a second Nami, even though it wasn't played on curve, and building an incredibly strong tempo that in the next like 2 or so turns will just be way too much for Nami's board to keep up with, especially since you have 2 Borsalinos in hand, being able to recover life even if you decide to KO multiple Robins, avoiding any sort of unblockable or cheesy strategies to sneak out a win by the Nami.
Teach also just getting like every single trigger that he needs. Like, one of the issues with getting rid of that Vasco shot there is that you don't really have that many timings to reestablish him if you start to chain things like that 10-cost Teach. But by being able to put another Devon into the trash with that search now seeing all 4 Devons, whether it's through searches or through physical draws, manages to find the low odds, puts another Devon into life, and is going to be able to just recur those 1-drops infinitely to just absorb all the damage that Nami's going to try to output.
Yeah, this is just crazy lucky. Like, it's interesting to see. Interesting.
Not going to go for the life heal. Is just trying to spread out board. Has 5 life left. So it's probably going to be 1 Dolan leader and then another 4-cost Marco.
It's a very interesting route. I don't think I've seen this route in the West from a Nami player, especially in this matchup. Choosing to forego going into a more tempo-focused Robin into Moria playstyle, instead trying to play a lot of smaller bodies that retain value even through destruction.
Yeah, I mean, also decides to bring out the Van Augur. I do understand this if you're trying to clear the opponent's smaller board. I think that this makes sense in this matchup. You don't want to be overrun by these small hits, especially when you have things like that 8-cost Moria trigger to also worry about as well. So getting rid of the opponent's board little by little. If you make it so that the only characters on the opponent's board are 7-cost or higher, then that Van Augur does end up having a lot more value. But the fact that Nami, played that Hogback first indicates that she's going to play another smaller character, so I wouldn't have been mad at the Vasco shot either. But, still, Nami trying her best to spread out board, does not go for the 4-cost Marco, does instead go for the Perona to stop as much aggression as possible while spreading out the board.
No, I know for a fact that there is going to be a 10-cost Teach off that full alert, because this Teach player has seen everything they need exactly when they need it. Except this one time.
No, he forgot to put the Dong on his leader. So even though he doesn't have the 10-cost Teach on this turn, he has no Dong on his leader. He just has 1 Dong active with nothing to use it on right now. So Teach, despite not having a 10-cost Teach, is basically going to be the same as if he did have it. Probably laughing to himself about that mistake. He's going to have to deal with this 5,000 power attack out of hand. Thankfully, though, the Burgess won't be able to attack, but that is a brutal mistake. Decided not to hit with the Nami to avoid some of those redirects, I imagine, but in doing so, forgot to attach that 1 Dong. Huge mistake in front of more people than you would like.
Yeah, and it just goes to show, right, that this happens to the best of us, no matter what. This is a high-stakes game in a lot of situations that are really easily avoidable or even considered like beginner mistakes, just with enough pressure can just happen to the best of us.
Yeah, and the teach made a mistake as well. Attached one dong to the teach and tried to swing with it, but forgot that it was stunned by the Perona. But he already attached that dong, so that dong is going to stay. So this is just a Mickey Mouse game right now. Takes out the 5-cost Nami and does get the 4-cost Maruko to come out onto the board. So yeah, this is one of the ways you could play with Teach, just to get rid of
Wow.
those smaller attacks, and then ignore the larger attacks or redirect them. But Nami trying to not let that happen, trying to get these smaller attacks to stick so that he actually has the smaller attacks in the way that Green Blue Luffy tries to close out the game, just chip away slowly at the opponent's resources. Because if you start to line up those 7-cost Robins and stuff, one 10-cost each stops an attack and blocks the other. It's just really, really bad. So I understand exactly what he's trying to do here. Does not want that Kikunojo trigger to come out, so is going to use the 8-cost event. Does not have the 10-cost teach though. And Kabu, shaking his head once more that he doesn't have the Dong on his leader. It's brutal.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's such a Mickey Mouse game, but at least they look like they're having fun. There's a second Black Vortex though, so at least we know he runs 2 now.
And Kabu, probably expecting the 10-cost teach to invalidate the leader effect anyway, was playing 2 steps ahead. But unfortunately, the opponent, which has been top-decking their entire curve from the first turn, did not have the 10-cost teach, absolutely punishing in every possible way that mistake. It's so unfortunate to see.
No, but I mean, that trigger does give a little bit of life now. There's a lot of small attacks on the board, although Teach's board is just so massive. Nami, I mean, very low in life right now, but still does have some of the resources that he's looking for that will actually be able to help translate into a win. Goes for the 5k at leader.
So we see the stacked, this is my time, I believe, in English coming out, which is allowing him to finally see the 10-cost teach. A turn too late, but still really strong. We'll probably see a redirect into the Augur this turn as well, essentially disabling both of these Peronas from attacking, or even the leader as well, which is just going to give so much value. So Gabe Tanumhihadarja. I'm so sorry, I'm gonna butcher that name. No Kiku trigger. So Zehahaha was used to add the life to hand, which in turn means that it cannot use its trigger ability as damage was not taken.
So just avoided, even though he didn't have the optimal Zehahaha target in that 10-cost teach, decide to use it anyways just to avoid the 4-cost Kikunojo from coming out, because that's a bit of a headache to deal with. Fortunately, some information that Nami ended up giving over with that 5-cost Nami on KO effect. But Nami trying her best with the attacks that she has. 5, 5, 5, 6 at the opponent's leader, and Teach's hand is getting significantly thinner. Uses the redirect
thin
into
as
the Van
Nami would
Augur.
like, though. Being able to replenish a card in hand with the on KO effect of Van Augur.
Yeah, actually, this isn't bad though. Attaches 3 Dong on to leader. Does still have 7 Dong up. Is going to be hitting for 5,000, but still just 1 extra attack. Is going to force Teach to either take 1 life or get rid of that Borsalino. Does get rid of the Borsalino though. 7 Dong plays down the Robin and is going to heal 1 while also drawing 1 card. So as long as he, I mean, if he can keep his board healthy, it's a big if, then Teach's resources are in fact getting whittled down. And remember, in Japan, this is not best of 3. You just need to win 1 game.
Yeah, the Teach, even though he has 3 cards in hand, I believe soon to be 4, as he enters the draw phase, is in a very demanding position, having access to both of the 10-cost Teaches. The first one here probably being used to negate Nami effect and the Marco, trading into the board, and then the following turn being used to negate the Robin and the leader, allowing him to clear the Robin without having to take his life to hand, which is just going to be so strong.
Yep.
And
interestingly, though, with the Hachinosu did get rid of one of the 10-cost teaches, so not expecting the game to go on that long. Uses the second 10-cost teach, negating the opponent's leader, even though it now has a Dong on it, and is just going to try to close out this game within the next 2 turns, essentially.
DJ Tengen and the Nami did not draw a card off the Robin, as they drew earlier when they attacked Teach, and that was the same time that he triggered the "This is my time."
Oh yeah, I believe it's called "This Is My Era" or "My Era Begins." My Era Begins, I think it is in the English official nomenclature. Whoa!
Let me
Whoa!
clarify that.
Oh my God! There's chance.
Whoa!
The one trigger that can get rid of Burgess, negate the Burgess, and KO one of the opponent's 5 costless characters. The 8 cost Teach shows who's the boss of the crew.
That is
Okay.
crazy. Literally the only way for Nami to deal with Burgess in a respectable way. Wow.
Respectable, quote unquote. No, yeah, I mean, Teach, who had extremely powerful triggers in the early game, is now suddenly caught off guard as the big Burgess, who was at 10,000 power at this point, is suddenly just not a threat anymore. I mean, I think Teach decided not to go for life after this point, redirected the attacks into the board, identifying that there may not be a way to close out the game if, for example, the opponent has something like double Borsalino. So refocuses the attack to try to take out the opponent's board and decides to take a longer game. But if you take these longer games, you really wish you had a 10 cost Teach. So still, I would have preferred not to get rid of that 10 cost Teach with the full lead the last turn, but decides to do so.
Yeah, I personally like the line I said earlier. I feel like getting rid of that second 10 cost Teach, especially when so early into the game you bottom decked the third one, puts you in a really dodgy situation right now where the opponent having their access to the mid-range bodies, including the Kikunoju that you are fully aware of, can pretty easily start to swarm you.
Yeah. He's thinking about going for the attack with Marco. Very brave, goes for the 6k attack, and the opponent now is forced to either redirect this or take it. Does
It
take it.
comes back! Oh
Oh
no!
my God, no!
We are Trigger Gaming.
Sorry,
The
I'm rooting
worst
for Nami
possible
because it's
thing
such
has
a bad
occurred.
matchup, but no, that's terrible. Oh,
You see, he
no.
chose not to negate and kill the Marco because he just knew he was going to trigger another 8-cost Teach from life. How could I have not seen this coming?
That's so tragic. He's deciding, seems not to go for the 7 cost Robin's 8,000 power attack. Would immediately get redirected into one of the opponent's characters, but would still get 1 card of his hand out of his hand. And when Teach only has 2 cards in hand, I mean, from the Nami's perspective, you have to assume that one of those cards is the 10 cost Teach. So it would be a pretty decent gamble, but
And
decides
he
not to go
top
for
decks
it.
it again. Again.
Hey, but at the very least, Nami is at 3 life right now, has 7 cards in hand, I believe 8 cards in hand, may not lose on this turn. So as long as Nami doesn't lose on this turn, there's a world where she might be able to win. But that brutal trigger from the 8 cost Teach to KO, negate and KO the 4 cost Marco is going to be a pretty devastating shift of events in this game.
The Teach giveth and the Teach taketh right back the lead and the reprieve that Nami was given.
Yeah.
This is going to be a brutal turn.
Interesting though. Teach deciding not to use the 10 cost Teach first.
I think that's not a bad idea. I think there is a very good chance he uses it more as a finisher the turn after, instead planning to poke and survive while establishing another large body this turn.
Yeah, I think that either option would work. I think that the actual answer is to just not get rid of your 10 cost Siege the turn before, so you could play 2 in a row, and that would just 100% close out the game. But
okay, yes.
I think that regardless, you should be able to win next turn if you played on 10 cost Siege, lock the opponent's leader, forcing them to use way more resources than they want to, while also stunning the 7 cost Robin. Because Nami didn't really establish too much board last turn, was able to stall very well with that Galdino Borsalino double Italian combo, but maybe triggers.
Yeah.
Going to be enough?
So there's that last Teach. So now we know that Teach has seen their entire deck.
Yep. Yeah. Which means that we're not going to see another Teach for the entire game, should it go on longer than one more turn.
and Social Norm 2000, why'd he let Nami go? So, oh wait, why'd he let Nami go?
Go to 7. Use leader effect.
Oh, because he doesn't want to end the game this
wait.
turn, and
He got rid of it again. At that point, you just play the 10
he ain't about
cost
that
each.
life.
Yeah, so just trying to close out the game with the board, which to be fair, most likely will be able to. But decides not to play the 10 cost each the turn before, which makes defending a little bit easier on Nami's side and gives her 1 extra attack on this turn.
Pilapika, can someone explain why the KO and markers matters? Because it allows you to draw 2 cards, and in a game like this where every card matters, getting a free card is just crazy powerful.
Yeah, so it's not only just that you get the on KO effect, which draws you 2 card, but also just having the attacker is really important, because not only is it an extra attacker for Nami, but also it's an extra attack that can be absorbed by one of Teach's characters if they decide they can't close out the game. So they'll, as you've seen the game go on, Teach has been methodically taking out Nami's board, and he's been avoiding taking out that 4-cost Marco for as long as possible. If that Marco were to stay on the board for 1 extra turn, that'd be 1 extra hit and also absorb something like an 8,000 power attack from Shiryu. But because he got that trigger, he just does not have to worry about not only the trigger effect, not only the attack, but also about redirecting an attack into it. So just huge net positive for Teach, but I mean, can't complain all too much because Nami also was able to avoid the Burgess incident as well. Yes,
yeah, we are just seeing so much back and forth with these triggers.
Yeah, the Teach is not playing the way that I would play. I'll say that. I think this game should be over by now if he was just playing out his 10-cost Teaches rather than the 8-cost Teaches, but is just going to keep healing up, trying to get those good triggers in. Only has 4 cards left in hand, does not have the blocker anymore, but does still have the leader effect redirect, which is going to probably be the victim of My Era Begins in his hand.
I fully agree with you there. The Nami is doing some pretty intense math right now. Basically trying to, I'm guessing he's playing around Zehahaha, seeing exactly how much he can counter up this next big turn and seeing if he can survive or if he's forced to go for the dodgiest lethal in his life.
Yeah, I mean, Pika, so if, for example, the Teach decided not to take out the opponent's board and just decided to ignore the Marco, which he's perfectly allowed to do because he has so much power on the board, then on this turn, if Nami has 1 extra 6,000 power character, 6,000 base power character on the board, then it makes a whole lot of difference if you're forced to go for lethal.
Okay, instead deciding to either take his luck or he's mathed out that he can survive this next following turn.
Does he have another Galdino Borsellino? He has the Dome up for it. It's hard to see his hand.
I think it might be a Perona Borsellino stunning the... No, it can't stun the Shiryu. Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. All those cards look the same to me for some reason from this far away. So we'll see what the play ends up being, but it does seem like Nami is going to be trying to play 1 extra turn.
My biggest fear here is that if he's forced into 7-cost Robin, there is just no chance. But we also see the Hiyori in hand. There might be some interesting trigger shenanigans. I can't quite see that last card in his hand. Perhaps he has something sneaky up his sleeve.
Okay, well, there's an 8-cost Moria, a couple of 2Ks, 1Ks, a lot of counterless cards. Takes... Has he already... I think has not used his leader effect, right, to redirect?
No, not yet, I believe. Yeah. But I was just answering some chat questions, so I did not quite see that. Oh no. Yeah. The worst case, he knows. If he does that, he loses.
He's really thinking about it. I don't know what the play is here, but I feel like you have to math out if it's possible to survive on this turn. And upon realizing that it's possible to survive, you have to think about playing this way. He's going to... Oh, this makes sense. Does he have? Oh no.
So
So Kabu just said, "I messed up." He says, "Ah fuck, I messed
oh
up.
no!
What am I doing?"
Oh
Oh
no!
no! Oh
Playing the
no!
Maria into his life with
Yeah.
Hiyori and then immediately having to play
Oh.
trash it with the
Yeah.
effect of Robin.
Oh, dude.
Oh
Yeah, no.
no!
Yeah, no. The nice thing about Japan is that you can hear the person's microphone. The Nami player just said, "Ah, fuck, I messed up. What am I doing?" And
You
immediately
can
got rid of the
see
life
the
that he just added. Is going to go back to 2 life. Does not have that Moria trigger anymore. At least one that he's planted, and Teach is going to try to go for lethal here.
you can
At the
see the
very
exact
least.
moment his soul left his body.
Yeah, at the very least, Nami is going to go back to a 7,000 power leader here. But Teach so many attacks on board is probably not going to be possible without more 8 custom Moria triggers. But what's it going to be? The last life. He's thinking about it. How
Not a
many are
Maria.
there? It's
Oh
already ready.
no!
Ah, it's not going to be there. And in the end, no,
A tragic
gets the last
loss.
attack through.
Oh, you hate to see it. Even for a Nami
Man,
player, you hate to
yeah.
see it.
So the opponent has 6 dong, so this would be 11 and 12. If he had the Marco, then he absorbs one of these attacks, presumably, if he can, the 12. So he needs to defend in 11 out of hand with the cards that he has in his hand. Cannot see. Oh, he does have enough, doesn't he?
Because he
Yeah,
has
he
the
has.
Borsalino blocker already on the
Yeah, and
field
he's
as well.
7k. Yeah, he's 7k. He goes up to 12, and he would have. Yeah, he would have been able to survive. And the opponent has to go for lethal. So if he didn't mess up the sequencing, he would have won.
That is incredibly
Yep.
unfortunate.
So basically, Nami's thinking on this turn is he looked at the opponent's trash, the board. He saw that there were 3 teaches in circulation. Assumed that the opponent's entire hand was full of counter because his assumption that was that Teach's assumption would be that Nami would have to go for lethal the turn before. So therefore, Teach, instead of trying to hold on to that 10 cost Teach, try to go for a game the turn after that, decides to get rid of it for counter, picks up a 1k counter that we saw him pick up. From Nami's perspective, this can be any amount of counter. Could be a 2q2, 1 with the 4 cards in his hand, decides not to go for lethal, and does math out that if the opponent just doesn't have a 10 cost Teach, then he can actually win. And he was actually correct in that assumption. He just completely missed the order of that. So actually, I think that Nami made the correct play here. Just messed up the order of it. Very unfortunate.